Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much. I always get slightly blemished and bashful when I get intros like that. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. My name is Bola Abisogun, OBE. I am going to have a slightly different conversation with you today. Rather than talk about BIM, we're going to talk about the why. And if technology doesn't fail me today, we'll move on to my first slide. He says, clicking ferociously on the clicker. Perhaps I'll start with the buttons themselves and leave the clicker to one side. So, ladies and gents, thank you for coming. I wear several hats, one of which I'm wearing today. DiverseCity Surveyors, the secret's in the name. There's a story behind that, but I really want to talk about the burning platform, excuse the pun, which is my gift to the surveying profession, otherwise known as PQS 2030. Building on from what Claire has just said, and thank you, Claire, thank you, Invicara, for the kind invitation. I want to move very quickly into a conversation that talks about smart assets and the role of technology, and specifically digital twins. And I'm assuming everybody in the audience knows what a digital twin is. Show of hands. Absolutely fabulous. No CPD homework today then. Bit about me. You could read a lot into that, but I'll draw you to one thing. Top right-hand corner, industry disruptor. That's what I am. Today I'm wearing my hat as chairman of DiverseCity Surveyors and also director of digital at BIM Academy, where I started recently. There is lots that I do around this conversation about smart assets. I've developed a use case in digital twins for social housing, and my drive is partly the reason why today I stand before you as an ashamed construction professional. Why am I ashamed? It's on the slide there. One individual thought that in the Grenfell Tower setting, the builders and professional team are actually a group of killers and crooks. He also went on to talk about the builders and surveyors knew what they were buying. I'm a chartered quantity surveyor. I'm ashamed about what my peer group potentially contributed to that disaster. And that is the reason why I'm hoping we can understand why smarter assets, not just smart assets, will help us avoid repeats of the Grenfell Tower inquiry. Does anybody know how many lives were lost in that building on the day? There is a number. 72. 72 lives were lost, and I want you to give me 72 seconds of your time looking at this slide while we deliberate while we're here. We can start counting from now. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for that, and I appreciate that sincerely. 72 lives were lost, and this is the reason why we have this screen shot of the legislation required. What is important on that screen actually is the transition period, which already kicked in. October 2023 is when things get really hairy for some of the asset owners who probably still don't understand the requirement in terms of a legal capacity that they may have to undertake. Gateways, very important, underpin the Act itself, something we need to be aware of. Many are in denial, but this animal is coming down the tracks. Has anybody heard of the Code of Governance 2020, National Housing Federation. I'm a non-exec director at a housing association. This particular number gives me sleepless nights, 4.3. Apparently, I have to stress test the business model in terms of risks, one of which is fire risk and structural collapse. I've been talking about this subject for a long time. We talk about smarter assets, we talk about Grenfell. What is the role of technology? What is the role of BIM? What is the role of digital twins in the context of smarter assets? I was speaking about this in March at London Excel, again in May. People are pointing the smoking gun at the contractor and the supply chain. I'm pointing the gun at myself and my fellow design team professionals because I think we are or were complicit in that demise. Moving very quickly, why am I so passionate about social housing? Because that sector has a moral compass, as does the Gemini Principles. Show of hands if you've heard of the Gemini Principles. Okay, so this is the Bible behind the National Digital Twin. There's a lot to take in these slides. They're a giveaway, so don't worry. Just ask Claire. She'll send you the whole deck. Please don't try and keep up. But I move on to the National Digital Twin Program. What was it talking about? What is the information management framework? What are the two connections between the hours I've shared there? Technology, for me, should be doing a number of different things, including reducing the environmental impact of construction. Is it doing it? I'm not sure. Are we getting there? I don't think so. Is there an opportunity? I think if we deploy the IMF, we may get there quicker. What is the IMF? Talks about bringing together standards and data exchange protocols. Isn't that what BIM's trying to do, in essence? Agree? Disagree? That's what we're here for, to figure out how to do that better. But the real issue for me is not the technology. We've got, in many ways, too much tech. We need to think about the role of people and our culture. And I think, unashamedly and unapologetically, we are a broken industry. Does it really need us to have a legislative tool to tell us what to do? That is what the Building Safety Act is going to do and has been doing since April this year. But what's the one thing that I think we all need to be aware of? In the context of this summit, it's the red text on the far left-hand side, if you can read it. It says, the requirements to create, hold, and maintain the golden thread of information. Do you know what that means? Show of hands if you think you do. So those that didn't live, you don't know what that means. Okay, so if I said to you, without understanding what that means, you could potentially go to jail as an asset owner, would you wake up and want to listen? That's the reality of where we're heading regarding the golden thread. It's all about legislation, it's all about competence, it's all about accountability and transparency. Two things, again, that don't sit well in the construction sector. But do we collaborate? Do we collaborate as a sector? I don't think so. This is probably one of the most humbling pieces of work I've been involved in. RICS produced this in March this year. I would suggest you all go and read it. I won't dwell on it. Digital Twin Toolkit, show of hands. Have you read it? Show of hands if you've read it. All right, show of hands if you haven't read it. Awesome. Right, please go and read it. The link's on the screen. But this is why we're here, right? BIM is a core component of a digital twin in my world. For many, BIM is everything or nothing. But it's only a core component in a digital twin. But as it says on the screen, BIM doesn't have to stop at handover. It should be a whole life cycle, passion-led, data-driven, intelligence-based model of data. Are we there yet? Are we anywhere near that? Are we anywhere near this assumption? I don't think we are. Are we creating new business models to facilitate new legislation? We're definitely not. Digital twins are a way of doing that. If you want to start a journey on a twin, there's a business template. We've worked that out. It was 2 years ago. It's being heavily used across the industry. I'm not sure whether it's translating into digital twins, but it's working in terms of enlightening client groups. In order to succeed in a roadmap, you need a champion. I consider most of you in the audience probably the wrong people to be talking to, but you need champions to get this thing right. So number 8 should be number 1, but number 1 is based on number 8. That's a roadmap, short journey. Could take years, could take weeks, depending on your passion for change within and external to your organization. But more importantly, where are we? When we talk about smart assets, what do we actually mean? If I said to you as the audience, black box, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Anyone? There you go, airplane. Right, so Why is it the black box that they go for as the only asset to salvage and retrieve when an airplane? What is it about the black box? Tells you the story about what happened, right? So let's consider a black box. If there had been a black box for Grenfell Tower, do you think we'd need an inquiry? I'll start there. That's technically an informative twin. And that is the reason why I'm focused on this whole use case around digital twins and social housing. The HITs I'll come on to very quickly, but at the moment, I'm actually at prescriptive twins. I'm working on prescriptive twins at the moment using BIM-enabled data-driven workflows. APIs. Anybody fluent in APIs? Right, so you're currently sending Word, Excel, PDF to each other? That's going to go. We're going to start using APIs. In my world, on a blockchain. Ideally to trigger a smart contract. We're heading there. Are you ready to engage in that conversation? That's a question. Why? Because I'm a chartered professional, right? I'm trying to conflate my PI cover and activity as a professional with my workflow via twins. Does that sound outlandish? It's coming down the tracks. Trust me. I'm a quantity surveyor. Yeah. But how do I measure my competence? How do I do that? These 3 documents are the most compelling documents for any chartered quantity surveyor to measure or be measured by. So if you employ quantity surveyors, ask them, are you using 3 of these documents? 1 is not enough, all 3 have to happen. Why? You'll find out when you click on those slides, when you get the slide deck. HITs, human intelligence tasks. This is the difference between what a machine should do and what the human should do, i.e. what the machine can do better than us and what we should be paid for by clients to do as a professional service. My thoughts started in 1994, case-based reasoning and artificial neural networks. It took the pandemic to unlock the business case behind my thinking in carbon measurement too. 26 years later. It's shocking. But this is what we need to move forward to. Data-driven models. My friend, the grumpy QS on the left-hand side, will be displaced by what happens on the right-hand side. And what is driven on the right-hand side is driven by BIM in a basic form. But I want to turn the BIM into a twin on every project. I want to bring gamification. I want my clients to become avatars, blah, 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 okay? It's happening. Why am I doing it? Golden thread. Who's heard of the golden thread? Do you know what it means? Do you know where it starts? Where does the golden thread start? On a refurbishment project, where does it start? Bingo. On a new build, where does it start? Golden thread. Tell what, we've got experts in the audience. Thanks. So again, allied to the young man's responses, digital twins will drive new business models. Most contractors need to understand they need a new business model to compete in a post-pandemic, post-Grenfell world. This is a slide where actually the message I'm trying to convey is that business as usual is just not good enough, won't be acceptable, and it won't allow you to succeed moving forward. Why? Because I've had an idea for 28 years called AIQS, and that's what it's doing. Conceived in 94, established in 2003, unlocked in 2021. Can you believe it? I've had an idea for nearly 28 years that was unlocked by the pandemic. It's coming. Not to displace, but to augment the roles of professionals. And to that extent, can I ask a question? Who in the audience is using blockchain to deliver projects? You're at CBRE, you're excluded, young man. So, smart contracts, anyone? You need to consider both of those components as simple and as basic as email moving forward. Okay, it's coming, particularly in the public sector. If nothing else, for evidence, transparency, agility, and audit. And you will be asked to participate, otherwise you won't be able to participate. It's coming down the tracks very quickly. And why do we need things like blockchain and smart contracts? To avoid harrowing statements like this that talk about quiet conversations that move left to right without knowing, decisions get made, and they translate into tragedies like Grenfell. So, are we going to get there? Of course we will. But look at the barriers. Look at all the barriers. What is the biggest number? Higher costs we've got there. Lack of unskilled professionals. Is anybody in this room ready to participate in a digital twin environment workflow? Is anybody using a CDE at the moment? Common data environment. Wrong audience. You're supposed to say no, and I'm supposed to say how to do it. Right. Here's the blueprint if you need a nudge. So I've done something shy of 3 years at Cambridge, sabbatical, really humbling experience. It translated into Gemini papers, which is the blueprint of what's going to happen very shortly regarding data-driven workflows in built environment, et cetera, et cetera. Please go and read the Gemini papers just to get some perspective on what's coming down the tracks. Now, for those of you that think I'm slightly unhinged or whatever, so do a lot of others, but we need to get there quickly. Will we get to a smarter assets environment by 2050? Will we? Won't we? What is it going to take? What's your role within it? These are the questions we want to explore. We've got 20-something years to do it. Do you think we'll get there? Smarter assets, every asset, including this one? That's the challenge. And it's a challenge that I'm working on with all of these amazing partners, now including Ricara. So, ladies and gents, I'm going to hand you over to my fellow panelists. I'm not sure who's going first. But please, James, take the stage. And thank you for listening.